G'day and welcome to Car Maintenance for Beginners on Every Road Adventures, where we help you take better care of your car so you can go on your own adventures. I'm Nathan Delaney, and in this video I'm going to show you the role that engine oil plays in your car. There's three main purposes of the engine oil in your car. Those purposes are lubricates, cools and cleans. Now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into each of those purposes in this video. Number one, it lubricates. An engine has a number of moving parts, and each moving part has what's called a friction surface. So whether it's a bearing surface, cams, pistons, everything, it's metal versus metal, so it needs to be lubricated. And when metal on metal rubs against each other, moves against each other, it creates friction. Now friction is a bit like if you grab your finger and you run it across a table or a bit of metal, and you can feel that friction, that resistance to moving. We need to lubricate that to make it easier to move. So if you put a bit of oil on there and then move your finger, it would move so much easier and slide easier. So what engine oil does is it creates a thin film of lubrication, so a cushion between the two metal surfaces, and that allows these metal surfaces to move smoothly and freely, and reducing the amount of friction and heat that is built up in between them. Now we're going to talk about the cooling effect of oil in a moment. Number two, it cools. Engine oil helps to keep your engine a little bit cooler, and it helps to remove heat. Heat is created from friction. So imagine rubbing your hands. You keep rubbing your hands and they start to feel warm. All right? That warmth is created from friction. By adding a thin film of oil in there, it removes the amount of friction that the moving engine parts are creating, so therefore reduces the amount of heat. And heat can also kill an engine. If we get too much heat, it will kill and seize an engine. And hey, if you're enjoying this and finding this information helpful, then give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tips. Okay, and the third main purpose of engine oil is to clean. It actually helps to clean the engine and the insides of the engine. Factors such as friction, little tiny metal particles that break off during the friction process, the engine oil picks it up and helps clean that and carry it away so it doesn't foul up the engine. Fuel can go past and get mixed in with the engine and oil and foul the engine up. Also stuff like combustion gases can come down, and it can also mix up in with the engine and gum up the oil. So what engine oil does, it has a number of detergents inside the engine, or inside the oil, to help clean the oil, and it helps keep the engine all nice and clean. So if you've ever looked at your engine oil just before you've taken it in for a service, you'll notice that the engine oil may be slightly black like this one. And then once you get it back from your service, you may notice that it's all nice and golden like this one. And that is all due to the fact that the oil is actually doing its job. It becomes black because those detergents are worn out. And that's what happens, engine oil wears out. And the blackness is just that deterioration of the oil quality. But that doesn't mean it hasn't done its job. In fact, it means it's done its job. Nice fresh oil will be more like honey in colour, that nice golden honey colour. And then old worn out oil will be black, almost thick if it's overdone and been in the car for too long. So like I just said, oil wears out due to all of those previous three factors. So what if we have no oil in the engine or a lack of oil in the engine? Well, that will cause an excessive amount of heat and friction build-up, which will then lead to a overheated and seized engine. And that is expensive repairs. But what about old oil? And I'm talking excessively old oil, something that hasn't been changed for 2 or 3 services. Well, that can actually gum up the engine. And again, the properties in the engine, it won't be allowed to clean, it won't be allowed to lubricate, and it'll be worn out. So it'll gum up the engine and actually won't be able to lubricate, it won't be able to heat or remove the heat from the engine, and it won't be able to clean the engine as it goes. So it'll gum it up and it will die. It will kill the engine, causing it to seize. Right, but what about the pros of clean oil? Well, it will increase fuel's consumption. By doing that, it reduces friction, it reduces heat, so the engine can start spinning over freely and turning more freely. It's not fighting all the time. It's a bit like if you're sitting on the couch for 12 months of the year and then you get up to move and go for a run. You don't want to move. And it's very similar in the aspect of the engine oil. If the engine oil is left in there for way too long, it doesn't want to move. It's too thick, it's too gluggy, it's too built up. All the detergents and the chemicals that make up the oil are all worn out. Maintaining fresh oil in your engine will allow your engine to perform at its peak for long periods of time. But engine oil is not the only point of car maintenance that is vital to your car's performance. If you want to check out our other video up here of regular car maintenance, and that will run through a number of reasons why regular car maintenance is important. So I'll check you over in the next video, and until then, remember that there is an adventure in every road.